I wrote this a while ago. Anyways, here we go. On February 14th, Mr. Downs read the third formers two of the best graduation speeches he has ever heard, and consequently, two of the best graduation speeches I have ever heard. The first he read was one that I was lucky enough to hear in person. He read to us Ben Berg's speech from my third form year. When I heard it in person, I had no idea the weight and power that this speech had. It was the first time that I had ever heard a real graduation speech, and I think the first time that I even heard Ben speak in general. I don't remember if he gave a chapel talk, but I think he introduced someone. The one thing I did know was that I followed his playlist on Spotify, aptly titled Ben's Greatest Hits. Ironically, this was the playlist that was streaming out of my computer when I wrote this. But I did not come up here to tell you about how great these speeches were, or how nostalgic hearing something from third form year made me, or even how kick-ass this playlist is, which it is, and everyone should go look it up. No, I came up here to tell everyone a lesson that I suddenly fully understood and comprehended for the first time while listening to Mr. Downs read. When I decided I needed to escape my rocky home life and go to boarding school, my aunt made a point to tell me the same lesson that I'm going to tell you today in the form of what was at the time a very corny saying. She told me to bloom where I am planted. I'm not proud to say that it took me almost 4 years to figure out what she meant when she said that, but I finally did, and I think it's something everyone needs to hear. It sounds simple enough. It seems like something very easy to understand. Take advantage of every opportunity, engage in the community you're surrounded with, etc., etc., etc. But I can attest that it is not this simple. There are days when I do not want to leave my room, and there are days when I purposefully ignore obligations because I'm so tired. There are a million reasons to stay self-involved and keep your gaze inward. It takes a tremendous amount of courage and strength to move that gaze outward. Millbrook gives each of us an advantage, though. Through our motto and mission statement, every hour of every day at Millbrook is accounted for, and this is a very purposeful act. The schedule is literally designed to force you to bloom. The routine makes it easy to set down roots and do all the things that I just mentioned. But I want to tell you that it's not enough. My aunt meant more than just be part of a community and blindly follow a routine. She wanted me to thrive at Millbrook. My aunt wanted me to shed the shell of a scared girl and become someone sure of herself. And it took me a long time to realize that I had to do more than the bare minimum to succeed in this endeavor. The only way I've been able to do this, or even comprehend doing this, was by weathering storms that tested my roots that I put down at Millbrook, and digging deeper to connect with my community. I had to comprehend, deal with, and struggle with my background while simultaneously remodeling myself into a better person. That's the whole point of it, isn't it? To be a good person. To me, a life well spent is a life spent constantly striving to be a better person, a better community member, a better family member. So I finally understand what my aunt meant by saying bloom while you're planted. Understand that it takes work to set roots deep enough to thrive through storms, and that in order to be successful, you must be able to adapt. Understand that you must work with and change parts of yourself while simultaneously engaging in Millbrook and your other surrounding communities. Unless you choose to be empathetic, choose to live a life with love for others, adapting will be the hardest and the worst thing you have to do in your life. Ben Berg's speech was about love, and the love that his class shared for each other, and the love that the community held within itself. So here is my advice. Lead a life where change is not only necessary, but welcome. Open yourself up to others and turn your gaze outward. We are faced with one of the most challenging situations of our lifetime, and it is exceedingly easy to face inward and succumb to the isolation and lost moments. But the most important thing I can tell you is that instead of looking at death tolls and the things we have lost and that we will never get back, Look at the love that our world has for each other. The entire planet has sequestered itself into shelters out of love for medical workers, immunocompromised people, for our grandparents, and for each other. I never thought I would finish my senior year back at the place I was desperate to leave, and back at a place that was stormy when I was vulnerable and alone and feeling without roots. But I am so grateful to be part of a community that, even so far stretched from each other, is still a place where I set down my roots and is still a community that is able to love in the way that Ben talked about. A community that is still able to connect with one another and help each other grow. So, as my aunt said to me 4 years ago, I will say to you, bloom where you are planted and live a life where you love. Thank you.